Hey there! Welcome back to Raymond's Films Recap, with me Ray as your narrator. Today we're gonna recap a crime and drama film titled The Invisible Guest. Please beware of the spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie started with what we see a woman who is a senior lawyer. She comes to an apartment and she saw a young man called Adrian. Adrian is having a court trial on the murder case where he was accused of killing a woman who he just slept with in a hotel room. Before the trial, in a few hours, the lawyer asked some critical information from Adrian. Some things that might be useful for defending his case. This lady is a very effective and experienced senior lawyer. She hasn't even lost a single case in all her career on every case she handled. That's why he hired her. He hired her to win the case where he was accused of being a murderer. Then the lawyer started asking her question. What exactly he was doing with the victim in the hotel room. Then he answered that in the past few months he was seeing a woman. That woman was his mistress. And then one night he was somewhat terrorized by someone. There in a hotel located far away from the city, he received a text that says from his mistress. That is weird because she was with him at the moment. They both realized that they were being set up for something, and they decided to get out of there. But when Adrian is about to leave, there was someone from behind him attacked him until he's unconscious. When he wakes up, he saw a small statue figure lay on the floor. Then he saw his mistress is already dead with money scattered on her body. The police then immediately arrested him. Adrian realized he's being framed by someone. Adrian explained it to his lawyer, but she answered if it's no witnesses hear or see someone coming out from Adrian's room. And moreover, police didn't find any traces or fingerprints in the hotel room. The police concluded based on the evidence and occurrence, it was Adrian who killed her. The lawyer who had a nearly perfect record. She then asked Adrian to be brutally honest with her if he wanted to win the case. After some consideration, he gave more details on what happened to help his case on the court. Three months before incident, he tells his lawyer that he's already had an affair with a woman named Laura. On their way home from some vacation, Adrian chose a different route other than he normally used. He thought the new route was faster to go to the airport. Adrian seems thinking about something about his family. He wanted to end the affair because he thought it was a mistake. Even more so, Laura herself already has a husband. Suddenly, there's a bunch of deer passing by through the street. He avoided the crash, and both of them were really shocked by what just happened. The other car in front of them were crashed, hitting a big rock on the side of the street. When they checked the car, it turns out that the driver is already dead. Adrian immediately tried to call the police, but Laura forbids him. She said calling the police meaning that their affair would be uncovered. It would destroy everything, including their career and their family. There was another car passed by, and now Adrian and Laura panicked. Laura got an idea. She wanted to make it look like the accident between Adrian and her. And they are already resolved it. The other driver believed their alibi. And now things are getting more complicated. There is no way they just left the body like that because someone already saw them. Then Laura suggested to dispose the body and the car. He then took the car with his body on the trunk. Laura waited there. Adrian seems really regretted of what he just did. He wanted to end everything and come back to his family. He realized that he didn't want to lose his wife and the children. And now Adrian goes to the lake. He threw the car and his body away. Then Laura picked up Adrian. Laura looked so shocked. She said that something awful has just happened to her. She then tells Adrian, after he drove away to dispose the body, there's someone in a car that came to her. He's a middle-aged man named Thomas. Thomas is a mechanic. He offered her a help to look at the car because it won't start. She told him she just hit a deer and the car breaks down. After looking up the car for a while, Thomas said that there is some damaged sensor on the car. He offered to repair the car. Laura then agreed to it. And then the car got towed in. They are both having a conversation. Thomas seems to be a very nice guy. After they arrived, Thomas introduced her to his wife. The wife seems really nice as well. She tells her to come in. Then Thomas started to fix Laura's car. On the house, the ladies were having a conversation. She tells her about their son that they haven't come home yet. She also showing her the picture of his son. Turns out the son is the young man that they just died in the accident with them. The young man is already dead. Laura now realized that she's on an immediate danger. Thomas' wife are getting more worried because their son haven't come home yet. They call his friends and they say that he's already went home for some time. The wife also calls their son's phone. Unfortunately, the phone is now in Laura's jacket. She recalls that she put the phone on her jacket in the accident earlier where someone drove by and his phone was ringing. She put the phone on the couch. Thomas and his wife are getting now more worried. They notice Laura's strange behavior. Then after Thomas finishes repair the car, Laura left. Upon hearing that, Adrian is now more scared. They are now agreed to sell the car, and then promises not to see each other again forever. Put an end to their affair. Adrian now came home to see his wife and his kid, but he feels lingering guilt about the man on the accident. His name was Daniel, and later he saw on the news that Daniel's disappearance has been investigated by the police. The lawyer who hears all his confessions were a little surprised. Then after a while someone calls her cell phone. The trial will begin soon. The judge was already on his way. She then asked him to continue the story. The police were asking Adrian about Daniel's disappearance. The police suspected Adrian is related to Daniel's disappearance because there's a car registered under Adrian's name. Then Adrian calls a lawyer that was his close friend named Felix. Adrian really scared of what just happened. He's also asked Felix to take care of everything. He asked to end Daniel's disappearance case. Adrian can afford to do that because he's indeed very rich. Now, Daniel's case is no longer the case of a missing person, but a fraud and theft case, where Daniel is being framed to stealing money from his office. And the case is now closed. Daniel's mom and dad were shocked to hear that news. Even Daniel's mother are now getting sick. Thomas believes that his son is not a thief and there is no way he did that. Adrian is getting more and more successful now in his business. Even he was dubbed as nowadays best young man. And on his day award party, there's a journalist who wants to interview Adrian. He then decided to meet the journalist. Turns out the journalist was Daniel's father. He is so sure that Adrian was involved on the case of his disappearing child. But unfortunately, the police didn't believe Daniel's story, because they are under the assumption that Daniel was run away for stealing. Adrian continued to explain to his lawyer. Someday, he received a message, contains a photo where Adrian dumps Daniel's car, and also a tape with a message that someone knows about Adrian's and Laura's affair, and also about the fact that they had something to do with Daniel's disappearance. That person also asked ransom to keep their mouths shut. He told Adrian and Laura that to come to the station. They then told Laura to throw away her cell phone. He then ordered both of them to come to the hotel using train from the station where they are now, and immediately go to the room 715. Laura and Adrian following the instruction. Laura came first to the hotel. Adrian came after her. Adrian then received a message from Laura's cell phone. This is the scene where this movie started. It turns out that there was indeed someone who pushes Adrian. Then he comes to Laura and hit her with a statue figure. He is Thomas. That is the story Adrian's lawyer operating under, because that is the most reasonable thing and believable story that can go to his favor. And that also explains his alibi and motive, so that he can get away with the case. But there is one more thing. How did Thomas make it out from the hotel without leaving any traces that he was there? Then the lawyer continued on her story. She told Adrian to look closely at Laura's murder case. She told him to look closely at any detail he could find. Turns out, he recognized Daniel's mother. He remembers one time Laura told him that Daniel's mom is working in a hotel. They were trapped and set up by his wife who works there. Thomas was the one who followed both of them on the train station to the hotel. He's already prepared and goes to the room first. He was assisted by his wife who worked there at the hotel. He sent some code for his wife through knocking the wall. Then she gave Thomas a device to unlock and goes out through the window without leaving traces. Thomas hiding on the wardrobe, waiting for Laura and Adrian to come. When Adrian come to the room, he sent a text using Laura's phone that he took earlier from the trash. Then he made Adrian smacking him to the wall that made him pass out and unconscious. Then he'd hit Laura. He then fled the scene using the device that his wife got him. He then comes to the room beside it, already prepared by his wife. The police came because a neighbor heard a scream from Laura's room. It was Thomas' wife that on charge and opening the door for the police. When the police arresting Adrian, the wife locked up the window, so the police didn't know that there was already someone come out from there. That was the lawyer's best chance to win the case. The lawyer needs Adrian to admit his action to dispose Daniel's body, so that the judge believed that Thomas was the one who killed Laura. So Adrian had a probable case that he wasn't the one who killed Laura. But even if he admits of doing that, he's still going to jail because he still disposed Daniel's body. Then the lawyer makes her theory again, where now Adrian is now also the victim of Laura. The lawyer creates a scenario where Adrian isn't with Laura and when the accident happened, so that makes Laura become the single suspect, since she was the one who transferred some amount of money on Daniel's name, where it makes this a fraud and runaway case instead of a missing person case. Now, to convince the judge, the lawyer asked where the body of Daniel dumped, because that's the only way they could convince the judge, where it also will free Adrian from all the accusation, and Adrian tells her the location. There is one more thing Adrian wants to say. When he's about to drown Daniel's car, Turns out that Daniel was still alive. Adrian drowned him anyway. That makes the lawyer furious, because now Adrian is really a murderer. Now the lawyer turns the story that Adrian made against him. That Adrian was the one who forbid Laura to call the police when the accident happened. Also, it was his idea to dump Daniel's body on the lake. After that incident, Laura became so guilty of what she did. Then Laura finally called Daniel's parents and explained all what she'd done. She then apologized and tried to compensate them using Adrian's money, pretending to be someone who knows the truth about the affair and their crime. Then Laura went to the hotel to give the money to Daniel's parents and turned herself in to the police. She then called Adrian to the hotel. When he arrived at Laura's hotel, she explained everything. And of course, Adrian didn't want to do that. He then hit Laura in the head, killing her instantly. Then Adrian trapped inside the room. He makes it as it was someone's already there, who wanted to frame him for murder. And then eventually, the police arrive. Now the lawyer knows what's really happened. There is one more twist on this story. She saws Adrian across the building. There was Thomas standing there watching them. All this time, Adrian always watched by Thomas. Even the lawyer herself is also stalked by Thomas. Adrian tried to convince his lawyer that he is not the killer by showing the photo of Thomas' wife on the crime scene. Turns out the photo has been doctored. It's a fake photo from the lawyer that she made to make Adrian confess his crime. Then Adrian finally admits that he was the one who killed Laura. Then the lawyer went out of the building to look for the fresh air. Inside, Adrian looked for the files that brought by the lawyer. He's now suspicious about his lawyer. He checked her pen. Turns out the pen contains a bug that records their whole conversation. In the apartment across the street, there he sees his lawyer is with Thomas. She opened her disguise. She took off her wigs and mask. It turns out that the lawyer is Daniel's mother, the young man that Adrian's killed. So from the beginning, he didn't tell his stories to his lawyer, but he tells the mother that child he just killed. And then there was a doorbell on Adrian's room. It turns out this is his real lawyer. And on that point, the movie was over.